Hi, and welcome to Faculty Focus, a podcast supporting the clinical education community in Leicester. We bring you Educator CPD, showcase new initiatives, and shine a light on some of the faculty behind it all.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Faculty Focus podcast. I'm Andrew and I'm joined by two of my anaesthetic colleagues. We've got two resident doctors in anaesthesia and we've invited them along because they're going to tell us a little bit about how they went around about setting up a course for FY doctors, and we can get into that, and hopefully there's a lot there to take away for anyone who might be thinking of doing something similar. So I'll let them introduce yourself. Rikesh Tobias.
Hi, my name's Rikesh. I'm an ST6 in anaesthetics, and it's my first ever podcast.
Hi, I'm Tobias. I'm CT1 in anaesthetics. Thanks for having us on the podcast, Andy.
Yeah, no problem. I guess we'll just get straight into it. So tell us, what's the course and why did you go about setting it up?
So as you said, it's an anaesthetic skills course for foundation doctors. I guess a bit about the background of why we did. For me, though things are changing a little bit, most medical school curricula have quite limited exposure to anaesthesia as a specialty, despite all the things we do across lots of different clinical areas, from managing acutely unwell patients to sedation and airway emergencies. And actually, there aren't that many foundation year posts that include an anaesthetics rotation. And for me, it's a little bit by chance that I got interested in anaesthetics, because at medical school, I happened to undertake a research project in it. I then reinforced that with a few taster days, and then I managed to somehow find an intro to anaesthesia course in London that gave me a bit to talk about at my anaesthetics interview. Whilst I really enjoy kind of training medical students and foundation doctors that are allocated to some time in theatre, I feel that their exposure to kind of seeing and trying out the various skills that we perform can be quite varied. I wanted to create a course that not only demystifies the speciality, but also empowers foundation doctors to, with the practical hands-on skills that they can apply in any setting, but also to inspire people to join the specialty. I love sharing what I love about anaesthesia and helping others build their confidence and competence, and I guess this felt like a bit of a natural step for me.
Yeah, there's certainly an appetite when it comes to anaesthesia because the medical school has various sort of specialist interest groups, and one of them is around anaesthesia and surgery. So there's definitely a group of people out there who want to find out more about our specialty, and like you say, only a week they spend in undergraduate with us. So. Tobias, what was it? Why did you go about it?
Yeah, so I think one thing me and Rikesh both share is probably that we both like education, right? So I was thinking about things that I wanted to do. So a newly minted CT1, and I've got to spend my time doing something. I'll be completely open with the listeners that I've got my ST4 applications coming up, and you want to think about points as well, and that's not something that shouldn't motivate you, because it did for me. So setting up a course like this is great for your CV, but the kind of behind that, though, we'll get into this a bit more later, but it was a lot of hard work. It took doing, so you have to actually enjoy being an educator as well. So that's kind of why I did this, rather than, get on some big research project and get a new first author publication. That was less like my kind of interest, right? I wanted to set up an education course, and I wanted to work with other people, and I wanted to deliver an awesome kind of day off the boards for the foundation doctors, where they can just really focus on themselves and networking, thinking about their future. So I think they're my main drivers. So let me tell you where I got the idea from. So I think Rikesh also went on a course somewhat similar to this, but I'd come off one. So obviously I'm CT1 now, and I went on a course as an F2, which was run in the Northeast, and it's like reasonably similar, but I was very much inspired by something that I'd been on. I came down here to Leicester and to the East Midlands and found it doesn't exist. And I thought that was a shame, and it should be provided for all this. Like, sort course was awesome. I knew all these foundation doctors were there. There's the desire for it. You're already telling me about the undergraduates who, there's the big society there, although we haven't quite strayed into the undergraduate sphere yet. Although we have spoken about it, haven't we?
Talked about it, yeah.
But there's a big appetite for this sort of thing. Yeah. And we found that in the uptake. We booked out all our places within, I think it was within 7 days of advertising it. So it was super easy to get delegates to come to the conference or the day.
It kind of makes you wonder about people's own learning needs, particularly at that F1, F2 group. It makes you start to think about where there's some learning needs there that we're not meeting, or maybe it's just the enjoyment part of it, but maybe people are actually really out there to try and learn more about it. skills we have?
I think being there on the day, like there was a bit of both, wasn't there? Like
Definitely.
there were people who really wanted to know the skills. Interestingly, there were I think maybe one or two people who said they didn't want to do anaesthetics, but they literally wanted to come to the course because they knew we had a set of really cool skills that we can help support them with.
Yeah, that's also very important too, is people don't want to sort of get on the wrong training scheme, really. So,
Yeah, for sure.
so how many people do you have on the course? What sort of things do you cover? It's a one-day course, isn't it?
Yeah, 1 day course. 16 delegates is what we went with.
You could probably say what the course is called, actually.
That's true.
Go for it, yeah.
So it's anaesthetic skills for foundation doctors.
Right.
And if I give you the short rundown of what happens is there's airway stations, there's breathing stations, there's circulation stations, which are kind of like vascular accessy. And then there's a bit of regional anaesthesia in there. There's kind of a couple of like extra talks sprinkled in, like a little Q&A for careers, a bit of peri-op medicine, a bit of what's CT1 and what's being a registrar like as this. But the focus is kind of on these 4 main areas in the day. And delegates rotate round. How many stations did we have in the end, Rikesh? About 16?
16 or so, yeah.
Quite a lot of stations. So you can imagine the day is quite a quick turnover. So they're all going around, seeing lots of new things. Maybe not mastering them all, but not mastering them all. But developing a understanding and appreciation so that when you do go into theatre and the consultant says, right, use two-handed technique, a CE grip. They've done that before on a mannequin. They know what's going to happen. They have that kind of pre-preparation before the stress of there being a patient who's not breathing anymore in front of you is there.
Right.
So that was the course. Rikesh, do you have anything to add in particular about the course design? I know that was kind of your area.
No, I guess just the focus of our course is to showcase some of the skills that we do as anaesthetist, but also it's not just about skills, it's all about a bit of giving delegates a flavour of all of the various things that we do as anaesthetists. So that's exactly why we wanted to make sure there were perioperative medicine bits in there, sort of ventilation, arterial blood gases, things kind of broken down by an ITU consultant. So there's lots of other things in there, not just hands-on skills.
So you have a number of faculty that come along to help, and you mentioned consultants and things. Are they there for the whole day? How many do you normally have on the faculty?
So we really wanted to make sure there were a variety of grades of anaesthetists, from core trainees to senior registrars and consultants, so that because delegates might have different kind of comfort in asking questions, they might have different complexity of questions as well. So we made sure that our faculty were representative of different grades. Absolutely, yeah, intensivists, anaesthetists. In fact, one of the guys that we met, actually, where Tobias and I first met at a sim course, he's a paediatric ED specialty trainee. I actually invited him along, and he's planning to come along for the next course. It's actually a thoracic
surgeon there, and it was a multidisciplinary.
So there's a networking element to all of this as well, like not just for the people, the delegates, but actually faculty as well. So you're building bridges across different specialties, whilst at the same time allowing the delegates themselves to sort of start to get to know some of the people around them and maybe even hook up with them. So whereabouts where do you host it? It's UHL, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in UHL. And we looked at a few options. Rikesh and I had never run a course before. So we did this as well with Rajni, who's one of the anaesthetic ICM consultants at the Glenfield, and she just stepped down from running the One Lung course there. So we used her kind of experience a lot. So all working together, we thought, well, do we charge loads of money, like 400 quid a delegate, and go do it somewhere private? There's like a possibility you can do that. We thought about finding a little cubby hole in an anaesthetic office somewhere, like maybe the anaesthetic training hub at the Leicester Royal, or can we squeeze this in here? What would our course look like then? But then we came across the conference service actually at UHL. Basically ended up fulfilling our needs and was pretty awesome, to be honest. Rebecca Goacher, she runs this service. And the idea is that they provide locations, equipment, they can give you admin help, as much or as little as you like. And to be honest, some of the best stuff is the catering was great. And it's just, I think for a first course, especially since we'd never ran a course before, having, reasonably oiled machine behind us just helped us get over some of the more grindy hurdles.
It took a lot of pressure off us, didn't it? When we were trying to focus on recruiting faculty and making the course run in other ways.
I was surprised that we needed 10 faculty. So 10 faculty for 16 delegates. It's getting on one-to-one. And it kind of surprised me for a course like this. But that was what we needed. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. That did take some doing.
But I think as part of your previous question, we had some faculty that stayed for the entire day. Tobias, Rajani and I were there the whole day. We had one or two other people that were there for the majority of the day, but the rest of the faculty dipped in and out, which actually worked quite well.
It did. And it helped people fit around their schedules.
So Rebecca, you mentioned, she's our conference manager here at UHL. She's based in the Department of Clinical Education, but she helps with the organisation of lots of different conferences. And as you say, she's one of those people who just knows how the system works, knows how to get things done, can put you in contact with the right sort of people. So we'll put her name in the show notes for our listeners if they want to contact her on the UHL email system. And like you say, Rajani as well, another very experienced clinician's been in the system, again, can set you up and get you through sort of paperwork, red tape, whatever it is.
It was great to have her on board as a co-director, because we got so much from having her on board.
Yeah, I would dwell on that and tell anyone who's thinking about setting up their own course that, I'm a core training anaesthetist. You do kind of need some backing. Could we have pulled this off ourselves? Maybe. It would have been hard work.
Tricky, yeah.
Having a consultant who's engaged and knows the department is, I would actually say, critical for anyone who wants to set up their own course. I don't know if you agree.
Definitely.
Particularly the setup in the first couple of courses, I think, definitely is important. We're talking now about over time transitioning to just us running the course, which may or may not work well. Particularly right at the start, we've been very grateful for.
I think there's also something there about, by linking in with various people who have been around for a while, particularly when you're rotating through places and you may not know what's gone before, and so these people are the ones who can say, oh, that's already being run, or this people do something similar. So you can find, either collaborate with people if there's something very similar, or create a sort of niche for whatever it is you want to do. So, because like you say, I guess we're all guilty at various points in our careers of reinventing the wheels. So it's always good to have people sort of advise on that. So how much did you say for the course that you charge? It's less than £100, isn't it?
Yeah, £75 per delegate. With the conference service, it's about £25 per delegate. We kind of kept 50, so you end up with about kind of £750.
And that's quite useful, having a pot for little bits and bobs expenses. You're using kits, reusables that you have to sort of.
There's a lot of that. I mean, for the first course, we had to kind of borrow things and find expired kit, and you made Tobias the Adam gel. There's a lot of disposables. It does cost money.
I think you'll find that having a little pot within a cost centre, wherever you end up working, is a really useful thing to have, because if you're going to be arranging big conferences, you need a bit of upfront money to cover people's costs with your speakers and things. But after the course, you've got other things to sort of financially square away. So, a lot of people are looking for money for various projects to support work in education, work in the clinical space, but there's often not money to do it because it's not coming from central government funding. So it's a really useful thing to be able to do.
I'd encourage people to charge their courses. I mean, free stuff's great. There is a place for that as well, don't get me wrong. I think what we felt from the day was that it was really high quality. I think that had something to do with the faculty, actually, and the quality of kind of teaching that went into it. But also, the money definitely played its part in that. I think some people shy away from saying, oh, what I'm doing is worth £20 or £100, but it can really add to the quality of your course and the things you can bring in.
Because you don't pay faculty, do you? But
no.
There's a bit of a kickback for them.
Yeah, it's a voluntary thing. I mean, one of the things we really wanted to do as part of networking, as well as all having a great time, is we wanted to take faculty out for a meal afterwards. Of course, some of that money went towards that. But one of the other things we were conscious about is the majority of our delegates were F1s who may or may not get a budget. So we know money's tight and we wanted to make it reasonable.
Yeah, that's true. We did think about do we charge £150 or whatever it was? And we said no, we think if it's 75, that's the sort of money the foundation doctor would just be able to say, no, I could just pay that and go and have a good day and feel that there's real value for money there.
I think that's right, yeah. And we're quite used to helping out on courses. If you think of all the courses you will have helped out over your career, the ALS courses. There's often a meal at the end of it. And no one's expecting to get paid to go to do these courses because I guess at the end of the day, it's also stuff for your portfolio. There's a kind of benefit in it if you're on faculty on these courses.
It's important for longevity. We want to keep this course going, and building personal relationships with your faculty is important, and it's something that you have to do if you want to keep providing this great course for the foundation doctors.
Yeah, and I think sometimes a certificate isn't enough. Really, it works
For sure.
a couple of times.
You don't build the personal connection, right?
Yeah. You've talked about a lot of the benefits for the delegates when they come onto the course and what you hope them to get out of it. Do you follow them up at all? Do you know what sort of where they go from here?
I mean, aside from, of course, we did pre and post-course questionnaires to see how they found various aspects of the course and their kind of familiarity with the skills beforehand too. I guess it's probably a bit too soon to say we could formally follow up their outcomes because it's only a few months ago in February that we ran it. I guess not everyone that came along definitely wanted to pursue a career in anaesthetics, but I'd say about half of them did. And, what we can say is a bunch of them have either at the end of the course or emailed us separately to say, can we get involved? So there's a few that are involved in research and audits that we're carrying out in the department. So we do know that a few did apply, but it's too early to say.
I don't know if you expected that. Like to have people come up to you at the end of the course. It kind of just happened at the end. Like they were just, I don't know, I remember seeing you and you kind of had a queue of maybe 2-3 people coming to talk to you about, hey, what do you think about this? Have you got like a little order I can get involved with? Of course, Rikesh, you're a busy guy and you have these projects and having people to work with you is great, and it's great for them because they get to get involved. So that was a nice kind of unforeseen kind of outcome of the project.
And there's a couple of people that are doing specialised foundation programs that actually are doing are now thinking of doing it in anaesthetic. So that's great.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yes, because we do have them rotate through anaesthesia. Some of them anyway on the rotations. I can see you getting sort of audit and QI leads on your courses. I've got a little stand in the corner and you can start handing out projects to any interested
we joke, but it's the perfect resource. It's great for the foundation doctors. It's great for us. It's good for patients ultimately as well.
Yeah. You mentioned that you use a lot of kit on your course. The ultrasound and airway devices. So how do you, obviously you haven't bought all your kit. How do you get over, where do you get the kit from? Do you need to pay for stuff? How do you get over that barrier then?
Yes, there are a few obviously different bits that we needed. So I'd helped out at one of the courses under the umbrella of the University of Leicester for final year medical students and for ultrasound guided venous access. And I know that those phantom limbs cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Yeah. So something we discussed quite early on was making cheaper alternatives. And something that we came across was something called Adam Gel. It's a great bit of kit. It's just a low cost ultrasound needling alternative. So that was one thing that was really cool, wasn't it? And we had a few sessions where we tested it out. Things went well, things didn't go so well. So that was the first one. Second one was just going around different theatre complexes and looking for expired kit. Yeah. So we went around LRI theatres and Glenfield theatres and found a bunch of expired kit. It's not going to be used anywhere else, so we used some of that. And another resource we used was, because we had Rajni on board, she's involved in a lot of simulation, and she actually had a lot of kit already from Glenfield. One of the things, we did borrow a central line trainer, very expensive piece of kit, very heavy. We had to transport it across site, which was a bit difficult. I do have a picture actually of you stuffing a slightly separately a mannequin in the back of my car.
Yeah.
Really dodgy.
It looked very strange.
But anyway, this central line trainer, we had it. It was a great piece of kit, but actually, I think we could have done that without. So it's about some of the elements making it high fidelity great, but actually, do we need it? So, and the disposables are really expensive. We didn't have all 16 delegates needling it, but had we, the person I borrowed it from probably wouldn't have been terribly happy.
Do you want to just explain to the listeners about the ultrasound stuff? Because that's all we had 3, 4, 10 grand ultrasound machines there.
We went for Mindray in the end, and they were great. Yeah. For any educational course, they'll actually deliver and collect the machines absolutely free of charge. Yeah. And of course, it's their way of advertising their product, and you get to use their nice brand new machines, and they're really nice machines.
They're really nice.
But we said, absolutely, we said, come along and field any questions. And we genuinely appreciated their help in supporting our course. And I even said, I think his name was Andy, I said, look, happy for you to speak to delegates or do a brief presentation. Yeah. But they're the sort of things that you can expect them to want to do.
If you need these expensive bits of kit, just fire the manufacturers an email and they'll often say yes.
Yeah. I guess, that's it. I mean, ultimately, they have to have some sort of way of pitching their kit. So there's usually something they want in return. It's not often just for free, is it? But I mean, it's worth seeing what it is that they're willing to offer because, like you say, it's tens of thousands of pounds for some of these bits of kit.
We did send the equipment lead to go their way to have a little bit of a chat.
Yeah. Thankfully, a lot of procurement is now just dealt with by procurement leads, not individual people sort of asking for bits of kit. But no, that's absolutely right. And reps are, depending on the size of your conference and the reach, there may be other ways they can support courses and conferences. But that's something that I suspect Rebecca may know quite a bit more about.
She did. Rebecca was great. We can't kind of sing her praises highly enough.
We used the MedMeet as well, didn't we? And she procured all of that for us, didn't she?
She did, yep. Yeah. Rebecca sorted it all out.
Is that part of catering?
No.
Sheep larynx is on me for lunch.
Okay, definitely.
No, sorry. MedMeet is kind of devascularized, blood removed from kind of anatomical specimens. So we had a sheep thorax for a chest drain insertion. So this is kind of part of the fidelity. Yeah, this is why people kind of quite enjoy the course. And kind of 4 sheep larynxes for front and neck access. Kind of just upgrades over plastic, which never really feels quite right.
Yeah. Was that in the so this was at the Glenfield, was it?
No, we ran it at the General.
At the General.
Yeah.
Did you got a wet lab or
They have a wet lab there. So they've got different bits in there. So we used a few of their seminar rooms, but across the courtyard they have a massive wet lab. And we had all of our wet lab stuff in there.
The General has very good conference facilities, I would say.
Yeah. It's probably an easy one to sort of get to and park as well, isn't it? Of the 3 sites. Great. Okay. Well, sort of drawing things to a close. I guess if you had to give advice to someone who's thinking about setting up a course, what sort of take-home messages would you say?
My 2 are, you need to book a date. So as soon as you kind of decide with somebody you're doing it, you've got to move from the we're chatting, not doing anything phase into the right, we're doing it, all guns ahead phase. And that's hard. And the way we did that was we said, this is our date. We're doing it. It's booked. And you just start doing it then. So quite seriously, if you think you want to do a course, book the day and you'll start preparing for it. Otherwise, it just ends up chat and never happens.
Was that, 6 months out?
Maybe. I think I was caught. There's a bit of debate about this. I was like,
less than that, wasn't it?
It's got to be not long. Because I really wanted to put the pressure on to get it going. Otherwise, you just don't get any steam or momentum. I think, what was it? In the end, 3 months?
3-4 months, yeah.
It was quite a fast, but that gave us an energy, right?
Yeah.
So you could, but now our courses are 6 monthly, so it's a bit different. First one, you have to give yourself a bit of a kick to get going. And then the second point is probably, I actually touched on this already, you actually need high-powered partners when you're setting up this sort of course in the NHS. Often, you wouldn't always. So if you can kind of just bridge a gap with somebody, network someone in our case, that was Rajani, one of the consultants, really, and actually Rebecca. These 2 people really allowed the course to come together.
How about yourself, Rikesh? What sort of take-home messages would you give?
Yeah, I mean, adding on to what Tobias said about dates, I think I'd say is having that faculty support is really important. So I think being smart with choosing the dates, avoiding school holiday, nearing exams, or avoiding resident regional teaching, that's one thing. Second thing, finances are key. You don't want to overcharge delegates or undercharge delegates. But one of the things I did was I approached the head of school at East Midlands School of Anaesthesia, and actually they agreed to provide a bit of seed funding to help set up the course. That was really helpful. And so have some kind of plan for finances, because you don't necessarily get access to the delegate fee straight away. We need to buy kit and all this. So that's something to think about. And another thing is, I feel you need something to reward faculty. We didn't just want to give people a certificate. One of the things was networking and having a bit of fun at the end of a quite hard day. It's just we wanted to treat faculty meal to meal. So and it does really help build relationships, and it keeps them coming back. Yeah,
I think you're right. There is a degree of joy when you have someone at such an early point in their medical careers, and the enthusiasm that they often bring with them to be able to then sort of in that context show off your profession really. So there's something quite innately satisfying about that as well as the food and the meal afterwards. Great. So you mentioned there's a next course. When's the next one then?
It's next course, 1st of October 2025. And then I said we've got a next one after that, in February next year. So the next course is at the General. That's the one in October.
And how do people book onto it if you've got F1s listening?
Yeah, F1, F2, anyone across the region or nationally, if you're listening, we'd love to have you. It's UHL Clinical Education website, and we can link down the show notes for you. If you've got any questions, you can email me, Tobias.Mill @nhs.net.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, congratulations. Well done on setting up a course. It's not easy. Like you say, there's a lot of things to think about. Thank you for coming on the pod and talking to us about it. I'm sure there's loads of stuff in there for our listeners if they haven't set up a course before, or even if they have, some other stuff to sort of think about, maybe a few contacts that they now know about. Yes, we'll put Rebecca's contact details in the show notes, and of course the website, the external facing website for clinical education, which is where we often publicise a lot of the courses. So we'll put that in the show notes too. Brilliant. Right, well, that's it from us today. Thank you, Rikesh. Thank you, Tobias, and enjoy the rest of your days.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Faculty Focus podcast. If you like the episode, please share with friends and colleagues. You can also like and subscribe to the show, and perhaps even leave a review. Clinical education can be tough, but we're stronger as a community, so if you have an idea for an episode or would like to come on and talk to us, do get in touch via email or Twitter. Details in the show notes. The Faculty Focus podcast, Community Development Showcase.